let's get started. As always, welcome to Tuesday Talk with Bim Group. I'm Deanna Sizemore, your host, and we come here every other Tuesday at 2 o'clock to talk about any up-and-coming changes, regulations, any fun compliance-related things that are top of mind. And I'm happy to do that. So, as always, this is an open conversation. I've got a few things I want to hit, but if you've got questions, feel free to ask those questions. Feel free to type them in the chat. Or if you think about it later, feel free to email me or call me. Be happy to address any questions that you may have. After this is recorded, within 48 hours, we post the recording on the Bim Group website, along with any notes or anything that I bring up during the conversation that says, hey, I'm going to post them out there. And we make that available to you there as well as here on Facebook. And if you are a BIM client and you know of another BIM client that is not in our group, feel free to invite them because we really want as many of our clients as possible and our staff to join us in these calls. So, today's topic, deadlines and penalties, all kinds of fun stuff. So, we've got several important upcoming deadlines, especially for calendar year plans, coming up in the next 30 to 60 days. We also have the potential end of the national emergency. The national emergency, as part of the COVID pandemic, is set to end on February the 28th, unless President Biden extends that national emergency date. If he doesn't, there are a lot of different things that are going to be triggered at that 60 days post end of the national emergency. So one of those things relates to COBRA. So under COVID, any COBRA elections, premium payment, offer of coverage, notification, all of that, you have a extended deadline of 60 days past the end of the national pandemic. If that holds true, then the national pandemic would end February 28th, and the 60 days would be April 1st. So watch for that in the news the next few days. Hopefully we'll get an extension on that. If we don't, just know you may have COBRA folks who are showing up and wanting to pay their back premium or wanting to elect it back 60 days or 120 days or 6 months or whatever that may be. So know that that's out there. Another big deadline is ACA reporting. It's the employer mandate reporting for applicable large employers. This is Diana's favorite thing. Just kidding. ACA reporting, it's the 1094, 1095 forms. If you are filing those via paper, the deadline to file those is February 28th. If you're filing them electronically, the deadline to file is March 31st, and that is to file with the IRS. You have until March 2nd to provide employees with those notices. So if you're self-funded or part of a association, I think the Kentucky Chamber plans, then you're going to need to make sure that those 1095s are in the hands of employees or participants no later than March 2nd. If you're fully insured, your carrier is doing that part for you. And again, unless you're part of that Kentucky Chamber Association. So some things to think about there. If you haven't done that and that's applicable to you, you should probably get started on that. I'm here to help with any questions that you may have. So feel free to call me. You know how to reach me, Deanna at bimgroup.us. It's DEANNA. And my phone number is 859-255-9455, extension 123. Another deadline that we see coming up is for 5,500 filings for calendar year plans. So 5,500 applies to any group that has more than 100 participants as of the first day of the plan year that is not a church or government entity. So if you have 115 or 120 participants, at the end of your plan year, you have 7 months to file a 5,500 filing with the Department of Labor. If your calendar year plan that is not due until July. But if you were, let's say your renewal was September 1st and your plan year ended August 31st, that filing is due at the end of March. Or if you're a June plan year and you filed an extension, the extension filing deadline is March 31st. The other thing that we need to look out for is CMS disclosure about Medicare Part D credibility. If you're a calendar year plan, you would have received your notice packet with your Medicare Part D credible coverage notice in that packet. You have 60 days post-renewal to notify CMS of your credibility. So there's 2 disclosures for CMS. There's one to the employee, which is due every year by October 15th. And as long as you've done that between October 15th of this year, October 15th this year and October 14th of next year, you've met that requirement. The CMS disclosure, or the Medicare Part D disclosure to CMS, is due 60 days post-renewal. So if you're a January 1 renewal, then you have until March 1st to do that filing to CMS. And you'll go to cms.gov, enter your Medicare Part D credibility information. One of the big questions that I always get is, how do I know the number of Medicare eligible participants? Because it will ask you if your plan is credible or not, and then how many people you have on Medicare. So what I like to say is, okay, look at your census. If you know you have 5 employees over the age of 65, you know you've got at least 5 people. Out of those 5 employees, you've got 3 spouses who are over 65. So we know we've got 8 people. And you just happen to know that you have a dependent that's in their 30s and is disabled and on Medicare. So that would be 9. You don't know about anybody else. So report on what you know. You know you have 9. Or you may not have anybody over 65. You may not have any spouses over age 65. And you're going to report 0. That's okay. You can only report what you know. The numbers that you're reporting are the number of employees, spouses, and dependents that are Medicare eligible. And that is a question that trips everybody up. If you get to that point and you're filling it out and you forgot what I said, don't hesitate to give us a call. We're glad to help you through that. That is all for Medicare Part D. Let's see. There is part of the end of the national pandemic ending February 28th is the extension to file FSA and HRA claims reimbursement. That would end May 1st based on the regs if the pandemic ends February 28th. We also have the FFCRA, which is the expanded emergency paid family leave, and the expanded sick leave. While we were not given extra time for the employee, we were given an expanded time period for employers to claim a tax credit. So if you chose to continue allowing employees to take paid sick time, paid family leave between January 1 and March 31st, those tax credits end March 31st. If you decided to stop using that as of December 31st, that's fine. You had that right to do that. It's only for those who decided to go on and continue to offer that benefit through the end of March. So just keep that in mind. Come March 31st, no more tax credits for paid sick leave or emergency paid family leave or expanded paid family leave. I keep calling it emergency paid. So keep that in mind. And on top of all the other things that we've got going on, we have the Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2021, which I spoke about in our last Tuesday talk, which allows an employer to make a decision on whether to expand their FSA, flexible spending account, healthcare spending, runout or carryover provisions. So typically your runout is 3 months, 2.5 months. So, and your rollover is capped at 500. So you have one or the other. You have a rollover or you have a grace period, expanded time frame. As an employer, you can choose whether to increase that rollover amount or expand the time frame for claims reimbursement through the end of this year. A lot of the partners that we work with, BMS, McGregor, I know they've been reaching out. I think UMR, ASG have been reaching out to clients to say, hey, do you want to amend your FSA plan? This also is there's an amendment for dependent care to increase the age from max age for reimbursement from 13 to 14 for those who aged out during the pandemic. And then there's also an option to allow retro enrollment for special elections. So that's something you can look at as well. But again, those are all amendments that have to be completed in order for you to allow those things. So if that's something you want to do and you've not heard from your third-party administrator that's handling your FSA, reach out to your account executive at BIM or me, and we'll get you in touch with them so that you can do those amendments. Because you want to make sure you do that sooner than later. That is all for actually notices and filing deadlines. There is a couple of dates that I just wanted to throw out for fun before I talk about penalties, because that's never fun, right? So coming up in March, on March the 5th, it's National Employee Appreciation Day. And March the 8th is International Women's Day. And March the 14th is Daylight Savings Time. So we're going to spring forward on March the 14th. That means our days are getting longer, and hopefully the snow is going away. So good news for that. And then, as always, coming up in April is the dreaded tax day, April 15th. I did see, if you live in Texas, that deadline has been extended. I don't know right off the top of my head what that is. But if you've got folks in Texas, we can look that up for you real quick. And that's all I have for notices and deadlines. And then we'll talk about penalties. Just real quick, does anybody have any questions or comments before I move on to penalties? And again, I apologize if you can hear my dogs barking. I don't know what's going on with them today. Okay, so every year, the Department of Labor and the IRS have the opportunity to increase the penalty amounts for certain failures to do things. One of those is failure to provide a plan document. So if you've talked to me at all, you know I talk about an ERISA plan document and summary plan description. Some of you may have what we call a wrap plan document, where all of your plans are under one umbrella and you file 15500. If you're under 100, you've probably not heard me use that term wrap, or you're in the association. And if you're in the association, all of your association plans are covered by an association level ERISA plan document and SPD. And if you need a copy of that, we can get that for you. If you're in an association and you have any plans outside of the association, those plans need an ERISA plan document as well. So if you have those and we haven't talked, please get in touch with me and we'll be happy to get you set up with those. But the filing has increased. It is now $161 per day, up to $1,613 maximum per violation for failure to provide an SPD or an amendment when requested by the DOL to the DOL. On top of that, there is a penalty for failure to provide that notice to participants. And I just lost my number here. Let me look at the page. Well, okay, I'll come back to that. I misplaced my paper that I was looking at. Let's see. Maybe I put it right here. No? Okay. I want to say that has gone up as well. I just don't have it in front of me. Form 5500 reporting, there's a $2,259 per day per plan for failure to file. So if you don't have that wrap document and you're over 100 and you have 5 different plans, that's 5 times $2,259 per day for every day you're late on failing to file. Fortunately, the DOL does have a delinquent filer program, which caps your penalty at $4,000. If you're not filing at 5,500 and we haven't talked and you're subject to that, please get in touch with me. We try to be very cognizant of all of our groups over 100 and making sure they're filing and timely filing at that. Non-discrimination testing. So if you got a Section 125 plan, you should be going through annual non-discrimination testing. Section 125 is pre-tax premiums. So if you're taking pre-tax premiums from employees' pay to pay for their share of the premiums, then you should be going through a non-discrimination test on an annual basis on the payroll deductions. If you have an FSA, that's a secondary non-discrimination test. If you fail those tests, your highly compensated employees' pre-tax benefits becomes taxable. So again, if you are in that situation and you need information on non-discrimination testing, give me a call. Again, I think I've spoke to most all of our clients that are subject to that. It is, some of it you can do internally. The Section 125 premium only piece is pretty easy. The FSA, I would have the vendor do it because they have all the information. There are also penalties for required notices distribution. So we talk about the annual open enrollment notices that we provide. One of those notices is the Children's Health Improvement Act notice, and that's $120 per day for failure to provide the notice. The GINA notice is also $120 per day for failure to provide. The summary of benefits and coverage that you get from the carrier, that's an $1,190 fine per willful violation per participant. And then, of course, then we've got the ACA penalties for failure to file timely. And we've talked about those deadlines and what those are. And there's an FMLA penalty that has increased to $178 for failure to post FMLA Act and provisions in your workplace. I think that pretty much covers the increased cost of the different penalties. They all went up this year. They have the right to do that on an annual basis. So, and I know those are a lot of numbers. I will actually post these updated penalties for you on the Bim Group website. So if you go to bimgroup.us/insights and actually /COVID, scroll down to the bottom. There's a Tuesday Talk section. Click on Tuesday Talk. It will take you to the Tuesday Talk page where our recordings are, as well as any reference documentation, including what I just mentioned with the penalties. I'm going to make sure and post that information up there. If you feel like you're not audit ready, meaning you feel like you don't have an ERISA plan document, you don't have a Section 125 plan document, you should be filing a 5500 and you're not getting your notices out, feel free to reach out to me. We'll walk through it and see where you have holes and help you fill those gaps. There are still doing audits. I haven't seen any locally in the past year, but we have seen them previously. Just to give you an idea, last year, the department that is responsible for auditing, which is EBSA, which is the Employee Benefits Security Administration, it's a division of the DOL, they recovered $3.12 billion in enforcement actions from employers last year. Monetary benefit recoveries from informal complaints was $456 million. There were 754 investigations closed with results, 59 criminal investigations, and 70 was the number of individuals indicted from those investigations. So the DOL audit is a real thing. It really happens. And we want to make sure that you don't end up in that crossfire. We want you to be compliant. So that is all I have for today. I know that was a lot of information in a short amount of time, but we do try to keep these to 20 minutes. And I wanted to give you some of those deadlines to make sure you're on top of things that are upcoming and hopefully avoid these penalties. Like I said, the recording and the reference chart will be posted within 48 hours. If you want to watch the replay, or if you're someone in your office you think should hear this information, feel free to ask any questions. I'm going to wait for just a moment, see if we have any questions pop up. If we don't have any questions, feel free to pop off, and we will see you again in 2 weeks. And have a good week. Enjoy this weather. It's wonderful outside. Gonna wait just a minute. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome, Dina. Thanks, Diana. You're welcome, Skylar. Thank you all. Have a great, great, great day, and we will talk soon. You know how to reach me if you need me. Have a good one. Thank you.